It's Mailbag Monday. It is All City / CHGO Spirit Week. We've got a ton to get to. Stick around for this episode of CHGO Blackhawks. Happy Monday. Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks podcast and welcome into All City CHGO Spirit Week. We've got a ton going on, all for our friends at Big Brothers, Big Sisters. Thursday is the big day. We'll be raising money live on the show. We've got some tiers. We've got some challenges. Yep. It's going to be a lot of fun. You'll remember last year was Smelling Salts Day.
Yes, it was.
Which started off very easily, and then we're like, oh, wait,
we did
remove the cotton. And then it was not as easy.
Harder, yes.
Yes, it became slightly more difficult. Today is All City Guest Day, so we will have a mystery guest at 3:30 from one of our All City sister stations. Tomorrow is Hot Take Tuesday, and I've got one queued up. I know Mario's got one, and Greg will be here Tuesday. He'll have one too.
Who's judging? I was told that there is a
I know there is a judge costume and a gavel and a whole thing. That sounds like a good job for Steven.
Is it Judge Nicholas presiding?
Oh, okay. I'll bring the gavel. We'll be good to go.
All right, nice. Good. I like that. Wednesday is Die Hard Day. We'll be involving you guys. Still kind of
diehards
hammering things out there and what exactly we're going to do.
Yeah.
And then Thursday, obviously the Big Brothers Big Sisters Day, we'll be raising money. So save your dollars, save your cents. Every penny will help. We want to outraise all the other All City shows, which we usually do pretty well.
You do all kind of outbid each other.
That's right. And then Friday is game day. They've got it designated as a quiz show day, but I think we've got something a little more fun planned that you guys might really, really enjoy. So
I've done all my quizzes in school.
That's right. 3 o'clock every day this week, so nothing out of the ordinary for us. But again, Greg will be part of things Tuesdays and Thursdays as he is all the time. But today is Monday. That means it's Mailbag Monday before we bring in our guest at the bottom of the hour. So
how was, I want to ask, because you posted about it on your social media.
Oh, yeah.
How was John Mulaney this weekend? That seemed like it was pretty awesome.
John Mulaney was great. At Wrigley Field, if you missed it, John Mulaney did the biggest stand-up show ever. And it's called, it's with mystery guest. Was sort of like, who's it going to be?
Original idea.
You
there,
imagine
Mulaney.
somebody big will be part of the show, and it'll be an opener you've heard of or something like that. So, show starts at Wrigley. Richard Kind, the actor, comes out and he's introduced as the mayor of Chicago. He's wearing a sash and he's kind of emceeing everything.
Oh, nice.
So then he comes out, talks a little bit. Then he introduces Buddy Guy. Buddy Guy comes out, full band. Plays 2 songs.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Walks off stage. I think he's 89, 87 years old. Walks off. Richard Kind again. Brings in Fred Armisen, who does about 15 minutes of Fred Armisen stuff.
That's
and then
awesome.
Fred Armisen walks off, and then Richard Kind again. And Richard Kind brings out David Letterman.
Wow.
And Letterman was only out there for a few minutes. He was he was out there to introduce John Mulaney. But did about, 5 minutes of a couple jokes and stuff like that. And then Mulaney came on, and John Mulaney did an hour 45 of stand-up.
It's generous.
Like your typical stand-up. I've been to maybe half a dozen stand-up shows over the years.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much an hour. Like they fine-tune it with little small club shows, and then boom, I've got a solid hour. He did an hour 45. At no point did it feel sluggish or like he was running out of material or like, all right, let's wrap this thing up. It was great. And I was super impressed. Every concert I've been to at Wrigley, I've been impressed by the sound. But like a band playing, there's a little more room for error there, right?
Yeah.
I heard every word, every person on the mic said crystal clear. Like,
it's good.
They did a fantastic job with the sound. Really impressed. A great night, a great experience. Really, really, I was glad to be part of comedy history. And just
pretty cool.
real, it was a lot of fun. It was great. So yeah, definitely a highlight. I got those tickets for my wife. We're waiting to go into Wrigley. I'm like, what did I get you these? What was the event? It's like Christmas. I'm like, man, was it that long ago that I bought these tickets? But totally worth it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. And I used Game Time to buy them.
As you should.
Yeah. So there you go. And it was that couldn't have been easier. Just literally like linked right to my ballpark app.
Oh yeah.
Like just click this and it will automatically shift them over. Could not have been an easier process. Save money on the tickets. It was great. Had really nice seats. We're in the 200 level. Heard every word. Saw everything. It was awesome.
Nice.
So I came away really impressed with how well Wrigley handled the sound, where every word is nuanced and you want to hear every syllable.
Right.
And it was perfect. It was really well done. So
Nice.
if another comedy show comes to Wrigley and you're kind of worried about the sound, don't be. They did a great job.
Nice. Yeah, I would love to see him live, but that sounded like I saw you kind of posting about it. And it's just like that sounded like an awesome show. And then especially when you're not expecting something like that, to have David Letterman and Buddy Guy.
So then they were kind of describing, like Richard kind of would describe who's coming out, and people are like, is it Nick Offerman? Because Nick Offerman's in town, and people are trying to guess who it might be. It was just great, and it was filmed for Netflix.
Okay.
So at least I would imagine they'll take that and cut an hour, make it an hour, and put the whole thing on there.
Make it,
because he did like
do the whole
several like different longer form bits
Yeah.
throughout there, and they could definitely cut a couple out without like losing the tie together of everything. But it was great, really, really good, and had high expectations, and they were exceeded. So it was awesome.
Nice.
And just a perfect night weather-wise. Like,
Yeah.
could not have been better.
It's been good.
So yeah, if you were there, hope you enjoyed it. But yeah, it'll be out on Netflix at some point. I don't know how long it will take, but it'll be there soon. How about you?
Nice.
You anything fun?
This weekend was T-ball,
Yes.
which was great for my daughter, and then had one birthday party on Saturday, which was fun. 4-year-old cousin's birthday. And then Sunday was swim class for my daughter, which is, again, great. And then another 3-year-old birthday party for some friends. And that was it. That was the Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, that's the age
and,
you're at.
and also
you're a child birthday
and
party
also
status.
taking care of a newborn.
That's it, yes.
So yeah, that was a 2-month-old. But yeah, that was the weekend.
Yeah.
That was good.
My daughter was
Warm weather.
Like a ringer for her friend's travel softball team.
Oh, nice.
They had a tournament and her pitcher was unavailable, so Addie had to go pitch for the new Lennox Power a handful of games. She
Nice.
knew one girl on the team and just did her thing. It was cool. So yeah, busy,
good
but
time.
good. That's what we want in the summer.
Summer
right?
weekends.
All right, let's get to the mailbag here. Enough blubber, enough bluster. First one here comes from DJ Schnell. Says, looking 3 years down the road, which current prospect do you think has the highest probability of becoming more valuable than their draft position suggests? Not necessarily the highest ceiling, but the best value. I like this question.
Yeah, because you could, think about Louis Crevier,
Right.
7th round pick, gets to the NHL and actually becomes what you suspect to be maybe a regular defenseman, albeit now in Buffalo, not Chicago. Yeah, there's a couple of guys that are pretty good candidates. I would say out of guys that we really haven't seen in the NHL yet, there's some good ones, but those are the guys that you're kind of like you're in the what if territory. Like
Yeah.
Wyatt Kaiser was a 3rd round pick and he's turned into an NHL regular. Like there's a lower percentage chance of that happening than, or there's a lower percentage of that happening than if he doesn't turn into anything.
Right.
Vlasic was a 2nd round pick. I think for me, there's 2 that I think have a good probability of getting higher value than where they picked, but they were kind of picked high, quote unquote. The first one for me is Roman Kanserov. I think there's still a lot to be seen from
44th overall, second round pick.
Yeah, there's still a lot to be seen from him. Obviously, he's still got to make his NHL debut. But based off of how he's played in Russia, how he's developed over the last 3 years, what he did last season, I think like the ability for him to hit the ground running this year in the NHL is there, and I think the Blackhawks are banking on that. And I think there is upside and potential for him to become like a top 6, top line option for this team down the road. If he's probably going to play that role this season,
game one.
But for him to actually like establish himself as that kind of player, I think would definitely be on the table for him. So for a second round pick to do that, I think would be not the norm of second round picks. My other one is, I know he's a first round pick, but late first round pick. I really think Vaclav Nestrasil is going to really step into the league and play a really important role for this team because he's got size up front in the forwards group, which they need, but also like skill and a little bit of edge to his game that like you combine all of those things. I feel like he's going to be a really good player and could be a guy that once he gets to the NHL maybe finds a spot in the top 6 because of that mixture of what he has.
I'm going to do one that we've seen and one that we haven't. And I agree with you on yours, by the way, Kancherov and Nestrasil. I'm very, very high on both of those. I think Nick Lardis, who was picked 67th overall in 2023, to have come out in the NHL, his first year pro, and to play the way he did and to show what he did in those 41 games is already very impressive. And it wasn't just like, oh, he can score goals in the NHL at a 20-goal pace as a rookie. There was more to his game than I had imagined and had predicted, right? I think we saw a lot of kind of the...
As a rookie,
I don't want to say like two-way forward. I wouldn't go that far, but showed some competence in the little things needed to play for Jeff Blashill, which I would not have expected from him in year one. So I'm going to say Nick Lardis is one. And another guy who I'm extremely excited about was drafted this year, Xavier Villeneuve.
Yeah.
Like, that's a guy who I think if everything goes well, could be the absolute steal of this draft. And I think that's what Kyle Davidson thought when he took him at 34. Yeah. If those pieces come together, and hearing from him at the draft, hearing from him at development camp, an incredibly confident kid who is absolutely aware of the things he needs to work on if he's going to have success at the NHL level. So he's not a guy who's like, I'll show you, I'm just going to be me and do my thing and prove it. He's like, no. I know that I'm good. I know that I'm talented. But for me to get where I want to get, I've got to add a lot more to my game. So I think that mindset of the combination of confidence and the willingness to admit that there's more meat on the bone for his game, I think those are two very positive signs. So Villeneuve and Lardis are my two that I think are probably going to vastly outplay their draft slot. Could there be others? Sure.
For sure. But in the chat, a lot of people mentioning AJ Spellacy.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. That's
72nd overall in 2024.
Yeah. I think he's for sure got an NHL future. Playing playing a very specific style of game. I mean, he didn't put up big numbers on the stat sheet in juniors, but it's not the role that he's going to be expected to play. And I think he's one of those guys that feels like we talk a lot about like, oh, this person like has a path to the NHL, like a very specific path. He's definitely that guy. He's super fast, super athletic, big, strong, physical, like edge to his game, willingness to jump in and a guy that has that kind of like personality that can be infectious both on and off the ice. Like, I feel like he's a guy that really will maybe quickly find a way to the NHL.
Yeah, I'm almost a little bit surprised he hasn't already, based on the fact that he almost made the team right out of his draft year. He played so well. And look, like maybe that wouldn't have, you're just playing on adrenaline at that point or whatever, and you're just trying to impress and hang around and you do a good job. But I'm really excited. I don't think it's not a 0% chance that he plays in a Blackhawks sweater in an NHL game this year by any means. I think we'll.
Maybe.
If I'm betting, do we see him or not? I would bet yes, we see him this year in the NHL.
Yeah. I wouldn't. I would not bet against it. He's gonna. he's going to have the opportunity to start in Rockford. He's going to have a good opportunity to make an impression in camp. It'll be, I think it's third training camp should be.
24, 25, 26.
Yeah, third training camp. This will be his first year pro. Like he's got the makings of a guy that can play that role. And Nathan Boehm also mentioned in the chat a lot. He put up some big numbers in the WHL his draft year and this past year, 3rd round pick, and he's going to go to Arizona State. So yeah, I mean that's another guy who's got good size. He's put up good production. Like interesting to see what the next step will be for him as he goes into college, and then maybe a year or two there, and then turns pro, and then see where he's at. But again, a 3rd round pick that seems like he's got pretty good scoring ability and good size. Like those guys can make it.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we're going to hit the break zone for the first time. You hit the like button while we're gone. Be sure to subscribe too. We did get over the 110,000 mark. Who was on the air when that happened?
Ooh, I think it was the Bulls show. It was either Bulls or it was right after White Sox draft ended.
Nice.
Okay, well, those are two good things.
Made
And by the
sense.
way, Sox fans, if you missed it, Saturday, Herb Lawrence back in the swing on
Nice.
CHGO White Sox, doing kind of the Greg route, like the part-time thing, a couple days a week.
Love that.
But we saw Greg was patient, and he's back with us when the season starts next year full-time. So hopefully the same thing works out for Herb, but we're glad to have Herb back. Herb's been my friend for like 20-plus years, so I'm thrilled that he's back here. More to come on CHGO Blackhawks. Here at CHGO, we are so lucky to be partners with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and something big is happening this Thursday. It's ALLCITY's Day of Giving, supporting the amazing folks at Big Brothers Big Sisters. Here's why it matters. Big Brothers Big Sisters is built around one idea, that every kid deserves someone in their corner, a trained, screened adult mentor who shows up consistently, listens, and helps a kid see what's possible for their life. That's the whole model, and it's changed the outcomes for kids for over 100 years now. This program doesn't run on good intentions alone. It takes real support to make every match last. So this Thursday, join us here on the CHGO YouTube channel, and we'll have a special donation link so you can help us fund this incredible organization. That is this Thursday with Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and the ALLCITY Network, because it takes little to be big. New vehicles are in store at Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, and this is your chance to score a great deal at the Make This the Summer event. Head to Ray CDJR on Route 12 today to choose from their huge inventory of new Chryslers, Dodges, Jeeps, and Rams' models, and right now up to $23,000 off MSRP on new 2026 Ram 1500 models, or 0% financing for 60 months on new models. Plus, shop over 125 vehicles marked under $20,000 with a friendly team of brand experts. The team at Ray CDJR is here to help you during each step of your car shopping journey. Go check out our partner today to shop one of the Chicago area's largest inventories. Find the right new vehicle for you, then drive home happy. The team at Ray CDJR is the only one we recommend. For more info, visit Ray CDJR today on Route 12 in Fox Lake or online at raycdjr.com. They have been serving the community since 1963. All right, we are back on CHGO Blackhawks. More mailbags to unwrap. We do have our guest coming from ALLCITY at the bottom of the hour, so make sure you stick around for that. It's hockey related. There's your tease.
Yes.
All right. Windy City Hockey. This is not so much a question as it is a statement, but I'm interested in this.
There are question marks in the
one, yes.
in the post. Yeah.
Last week, the Blackhawks gave season ticket holders an email about time slot for games. Which would your ideal start times at what would be your ideal start times at the UC? The times offered were 6:40, 7, 7:30, or 7:30 or later. Windy City says he went with 6:40, but he'd be fine with 7 starts because it means getting out of the UC earlier. It wouldn't be getting home to St. Louis at 1 a.m. So 6:40, 7, 7:30, or later. They went
for weekday games.
For weekday games, right? They went to the 7 o'clock format a couple of years ago. I thought that was great.
Yeah, 7's perfect.
And I wonder why they went back. I'm sure there are metrics plugged into this. I'm sure it has to do with, hey, we lost a lot of concession sales when we didn't have that extra half hour built in.
Right.
Because you probably have parents coming home from work in the city, picking up the kids, drive into the game, and then when they get there, they get there. And then if they got to sit around for 20 minutes before the puck drops, they're buying ice cream, buying concessions, buying merch, whatever. If it starts a half hour earlier, that's sort of 30 minutes left or lost for the Blackhawks revenue-wise. But in terms of fan friendliness, I feel like the 7 o'clock start is perfect.
Yeah, I feel like 7 is the best time frame because games are somewhere between 2 hours and 2.5 to 40. If you're exiting the UC by 10 o'clock, like that's not too bad. That's not unreasonable for families. Not unreasonable for people who got to go to work the next day.
Even on a school night, if you're home by 10:45, you can kind of like, all right, that's not the end of the world.
Yeah. It's I think 7 works. Earlier than you're dealing with people who, you're like, coming off of work. Like if you get off of work at 5 and you got puck drop an hour and 40 minutes later,
that's tough.
Like you're gonna go from work to the UC potentially, So and that's not fun. You don't have enough time to get dinner or anything like that. I know they got good options at the UC, but it's just like it's still like sometimes people like to be like, oh, I'll stop at somewhere around the arena or Queenie's or whatever. If they have the time to do that, I think is good. But if you do 7:30, then you're getting out later. You got families that are probably like, okay, second intermission, we got to go home.
We see it all the time. When I leave during a second intermission, there's always families walking out with their kids.
Yeah.
So sure, I'm sure the calculus is money lost pregame, but what they're not factoring in is people leaving early and families potentially saying, you know what, that 7 o'clock start was great. I can do that a few times a year now instead of once a year. Like 7:30 is rough. The kids are going to get to bed late. We can deal with it one time because it's a special night. That extra half hour earlier getting home is going to make a big difference for parents.
Yeah.
And it might give them a little more willingness to come to the end. I don't think there's any way to measure that aside from, would you come to more games if they started earlier? Yes, I would.
That's why they do these things.
Yes, exactly. But it just feels like, and look, are we voting somewhat selfishly? Yeah, probably. I think everyone who filled the survey out is answering what's best for them.
Well, yeah, of course.
But it would be great for us to we're on the air a half hour earlier.
Yeah,
we're done a half hour earlier. We're home a half hour earlier. That's all great. I just feel like when they were doing the 7 o'clock starts, it never felt like the crowd was late arriving or people weren't in their seats. I don't feel like that was ever really an issue.
No, I think 7's perfect.
We'll see.
Do 6 o'clock on Saturday games and 5 o'clock on Sunday games.
And we're going to find out. I wonder if we'll find out game times this week when the schedule comes out.
I don't think the timing that they sent this out, I don't think is going to affect this year, but maybe next year. Yeah. Because I feel like the NHL schedule, which comes out this week, they would have already had those things hammered out.
You would imagine.
Yeah.
You would think so.
Yeah.
But, no, who knows? I don't know. Either way, let's hope eventually it goes back to 7 for weeknight games because it's just so much easier on everybody. And I know it's revenue losses. I know we all roll our eyes at it, but they are a business.
That's what they think about.
That does matter. So that's something they do have to weigh. But I think to definitely consider, though, Blackhawks people listening to this, that there might be folks coming to more games more often if they start a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
I know as a parent, as you're a parent too, that would be something you would factor in. Like, what time are we going to get home from that?
Yeah.
Oh, at 10:15? All right, yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
As opposed to 11.
Can't wait for the 8:52 p.m. Central Time start for a TNT doubleheader game between the Blackhawks and the Blues because it's got to start at 8:52.
8:52
for those Central Time teams.
Can't be earlier. All right, let's get one more in here before we hit the break zone. Cookin' Keith.
Whoa, he says cooking up a
this
big
is long.
question.
Yes, it says the Blackhawks have seen steady improvement of about 10 points each season since Bedard's been in the league. While we all know the players' expectations every year is to get back into the playoffs, is it right for the fan base to set expectations at that too? My point being, if we're seeing a steady, gradual improvement every season in the right direction, there's a legit argument to be made that the rebuild is working, and this is just what it looks like. While we all want this team to be competing for a playoff spot right now, I would say if we finish between 80 and 90 points, I would hardly consider that a failed season. Progress of individual players isn't always linear, but the roster going into the season gives me a lot more hope than last year as long as the Hawks don't have a season of cascading injuries. If we finish between 80 and 90 points, would you take it at this point, or does it perpetuate the narrative that Kyle Davidson hasn't done enough as GM and should be, I think it says penalized? So criticized. There we go. 80 to 90. Now, I will say this. 80 to 90 is a large gap.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between 80 points and 90 points.
80 points, you're, picking top 10. 90 points, you're picking, you're thinking you're close to the playoffs.
Right. Last year, the Hawks had 72 points. Mm-hmm. So if they make a 10-point jump, that's 82. That's the same record as the Winnipeg Jets. That's not playoff conversation.
No.
Though it is a significant jump. That's 5 more wins.
Right.
I would think for me, so the LA Kings were the final Western Conference playoff team with 90 points. That's the lowest point total for a playoff team in the NHL. The next closest were the Blues, who finished with 86.
Okay.
If the Hawks finished with 84, 85, 86, 87 points, I would probably consider that a pretty successful season.
That's a very
huge jump.
That's a very successful season considering where you're starting without Connor Bedard, and you're probably within 5 to 7 points of a playoff spot based off of how teams those second wild card spots and all that, how those work out. But that's you're scoreboard watching into April with teams like that, and you're potentially, depending on where you're at in February, you're thinking about adding at the trade deadline. That's what competitive teams and having a competitive season, that's what you do. We've been there before. We haven't been there in a couple of years, but getting back to that is important. The question, I feel like, is two things can be true at the same time. The incremental jumps are important. That shows the progress, that especially as the roster, the points are going this way, as the age is going this way, you're getting younger. Yeah. So you're getting more young players into the lineup. You're getting more of these guys that Kyle Davidson has put his rebuild stamp on. Those individual players having growth is all important. But I think when you come out and you express, Kyle Davidson has done it before, the players did it this past season, where they're like, our expectation is to be in the playoffs, and then you make a move like getting Bowen Byram, you make some of these moves that kind of start to set that precedent of okay, well, are you making those moves to make the immediate improvements to your roster? Are you expecting all these young guys now going into this season where it's Kanserov and Frondell, rookies, legitimate rookies, are you all expecting them to take those steps and carry the workload of the team to make them competitive? So they could finish with 82, 84, 86 points. And there's a way for that to feel great and also disappointing, because if they finish this year with 86 points, right? A few points short of the playoffs, with Bedard missing a month of the season, one, you're going to feel like, damn, that injury really cost you probably 5 or 6 points, could cost you a playoff spot at least. But then two, if you have the injury and then you go through the offseason, as we've kind of spent all last week talking about making additions to the roster or making any moves, if you don't do anything and then you suffer that short, you're short by a few points, you might go to Kyle Davidson and be like, yeah, you improved, the young players went the right way, but you could have made a move or two or whatever to kind of insulate the start of that year, and the team that finishes the year with a healthy Bedard, knock on wood, could have been in the playoffs. And then you could get criticized for that.
Yeah, all of that correct. By the way, for the record, last year's 72 points was an 11-point improvement from the year before. And let's remember, the year before
was 52 points?
61.
Yeah, I'm saying the year before that one was...
But I'm saying the year I'm talking about, 24-25, where they had 61 points. That was your Alec Martinez, Pat Maroon.
Yeah.
Wasn't that Corey Perry to start the year?
No.
That was
the
year before.
That was the 23-24 season.
So
Perry was with Bedard.
As you pointed out, the age going down, the point production going up would seem to indicate a rebuild on the right track. And someone pointed out too in the chat, like, and I kind of forgot about this. We talked about how young the Hawks were at the end of the season and how, oh man, it just didn't look great until the last couple games. They looked a little bit better. They were without Oliver Moore and Artem Levshunov for the final stretch too.
Yeah, Moore didn't play. Levshunov was hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. So
true.
like, and say what you want about Levshunov, right? Whatever you believe about his game. To not have him when you've traded Connor Murphy and you're trying to get a look at your young D, it's kind of, he's an important piece to that.
Right. Yeah.
And was a helpful piece some nights. Probably half.
Yeah.
It's probably 50-50 for Artie last year.
Would you rather him or Ethan Del Mastro?
Him.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. So we'll see. Look, as we've talked about with the Bowen Byram thing, like this offseason is going to be the defining one for Kyle Davidson, good or bad. They could be the White Sox, and everyone gets good quick, and you add that piece that just gets them right over the top. Maybe Kanserov is Murakami, right? You bring in this star from overseas, plug him in your lineup, and boom, that is the boost needed. That, along with the development of young players, and they make a massive jump. Or we'd be talking about the draft lottery again next summer.
Right.
Which I really don't want to do.
I don't either.
Unless they have a San Jose Sharksian jump in the draft lottery.
Sure.
Because of Mike Greer's masterful general managing. They jumped up 11 spots in the draft.
Right.
Because of his brilliance. That'd be nice to have in a Kyle Davidson too. All right, we're going to hit the break zone. When we come back, we are ready to tell you who it is. It's Bill Matz from PHLY. They did not get Leo Carlsson. Are the Flyers going to fold as an organization now? That's next on CHGO Blackhawks. What if you could have reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi, and what if you keep it at the same price for 5 years? That is the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Imagine having Wi-Fi that makes everything in your home work together, that finds and fixes problems before you even notice them. It's super intelligent Wi-Fi with a sixth sense, and that lets you stream the game even when the whole family is online. All your devices working in perfect harmony for 5 whole years. And the best part, no annual contract, no hidden fees, and you'll get Xfinity's best equipment included. Take it from us, a lot can change in 5 years. Championships are won, records are broken, dreams grow bigger, but your Wi-Fi should stay reliable and the price should stay put. So lock in your price and unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more about the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. This is available on select plans only, and per usual, restrictions apply. You know that moment, the one where you realize you left your favorite sunglasses at the beach, on the roof of your car, or in a gas station bathroom 3 states away. Well, we've all been there. I've been there. Then I found Shady Rays, and it changed the game. Their sunglasses are not only made for real life, they look great. They're polarized, they're durable, and they're not insanely expensive. And the best part, if you lose them or break them, even on the first day, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements. So now you can wear your sunglasses at a concert, on a boat, on a hike, in a bathroom, in Iowa somewhere. Wherever, Shady Rays is eyewear that has your back. All of us here at CHGO are rocking Shady Rays this summer. You should too. Head to shadyrays.com. Use our code CHGOSR for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Again, that's code CHGOSR at shadyrays.com. All right, we're back on CHGO Blackhawks. Do us a favor, hit that like button. We have like 300 people watching and only 107 likes. That's not good enough. Hit the like button. And as we are kicking off All City Spirit Week, we feel it is only appropriate to welcome not the CHGO host of the year. That was me. We're going to bring in the All City host of the year, the one to rule them all. It is Bill Matz from PHLY Flyers. Congratulations, my friend. Well deserved.
I'm really glad you brought that up, Jay, because Charlie told me today 2 different shows asked him to be on, and I only got asked to do one, and I'm the host of the year over here. Damn it!
Well, I was just
What's going on,
concerned you
gentlemen?
would not. You'd be like, do they not know who I am? I am not available. No, but congrats on that awesome honor and well-deserved for sure. And I also want to take a moment. When I was on with you guys earlier, you did your read for Wawa, and we learned today the CEO of Wawa passed away. His name is Dick Wood.
Yeah,
Is that real?
That's real.
Okay.
The former CEO, Richard Wood, has passed away, and it's a loss for the entire area. Quite honestly, we are represented mostly by Wawa gas stations.
I have never been to Philly. I would like to be at Philly to Philly someday. Can you explain to me what Wawa is? Because I hear all about it. Everyone raves about it, but you just said gas station.
Yeah, Wawa started as like a deli / convenience store. And it was like your local neighborhood convenience store, and has since expanded into what are super Wawas, where you fill up your car with gas. They still have sandwiches they make for you, but they just carry absolutely basically everything now.
Interesting. Okay. So, kind of like a Costco, where you can get basically everything, but not. I imagine not that big.
Convenience store vibe, but yes.
Like a Buc-ee's?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Buc-ee's.
All right.
Okay.
Fair. All right. By the way, Bill joining us on the Xfinity mobile call-in line. We appreciate Xfinity. Check out their 5-year price guarantee at Xfinity.com. Did I do everything, Steven? Is that good?
You nailed it. That was perfect.
Nailed
I'm
it.
the
Perfect.
CHGO
Good
host
job.
of the
I
year.
forgot to do it today. Brenda's mad at me.
Oh, send the trophy my way. All right, let's get into it. Your guy, Daniel Briere, just lobs a hand grenade into the NHL. $18 million offer sheet for Leo Carlsson. Doesn't work. He signs with Anaheim. Where do the Flyers go from here? And was there a belief that was going to get it done for Carlsson?
Yeah, I do think the money offered that he did sign for, agreed to sign the offer sheet, was enough potentially to get it done, especially the structure with the bonuses, 40 mil over the first calendar year, basically, they would have had to pony up. But, Anaheim's owners decided it was worth doing, and it was a little disappointing from the start. We felt like they have to. That's basically how we started the emergency pod. Anaheim has to match, right? The entire centerpiece of their rebuild is Leo Carlsson. Now, as you pointed out on our show today, Jay, they have a lot of depth. Cutter Gauthier has to get paid. They have all the defensemen that have to get paid eventually. They're going to be bringing in McQueen at some point. They do have a lot of players, Beckett, Seneca, but without the 1C, what do you really have? And that's it was disappointing. I did let myself start to believe around like Tuesday or Wednesday, maybe they just won't match. Maybe we just got Leo Carlsson. But the thing that was most likely to happen happened. And now where do they go? Well, now they have to keep taking swings. The first thing they have to do is get Zegras and Drysdale sorted out. Their arbitration dates are Monday and Wednesday next week. Those two have to be signed to extensions, hopefully long-term, hopefully before the arbitration date happens, and then get back to the business of figuring out how to get that one guy, how to get that number one defenseman, how to get that number one center, the guy who is the centerpiece. They have a lot of potential really good players. Porter Martone looked awesome in his short time in the league. I think Matvei Michkov is going to get back to what we thought he could be. But you need those guys at the premium positions to be your leaders, and they just don't have that one guy. Take care of your priorities now and look forward to other opportunities to throw another grenade, and hopefully it doesn't blow up in your hand.
With the offer sheet and the ire that we hear can come from it from the other GMs that are on the other side of it, you mentioned Porter Martone. Is there any now lingering ooh, they should get him signed as soon as possible because maybe Briere ruffled some feathers and someone wants to, put a target on his back now?
Yeah, that was a topic we covered today. Porter Martone will be extension eligible July 1st next year, and I want that thing signed. I want that thing notarized June 15th, sitting in his drawer, waiting to be faxed over to the league, because they work on fax machines. They just have to. I want that thing done well before July 1st, so we don't even have to get to July 1st, 2028 and have this conversation. I think that was part of the opportunity that the Ducks presented the Flyers with, and apparently 3 or 4 other teams in the league that presented offer sheets to Leo Carlsson. Hey, you don't have your guy signed? Well, that's on you, bro. Now we're going to blow up your salary cap situation because you waited too long. I don't want to be there. Michkov also a restricted free agent next July. Want to get that thing done as long as he has the year. We're all really crossing our fingers he has after the disappointing sophomore season. I do think there is a lot to... I don't know if it's... Paul Holmgren thinks one of the reasons he was bad as a GM in his second part of his tenure for the Flyers is, well, he tendered that offer sheet to Shea Weber and the whole league held it against him. It's like, well, also you just made a ton of bad trades. But let's say part of that is true. Don't fall into that trap. Don't fall into the Montreal and Carolina trap of, okay, well, now we're susceptible because people are trying to get back at us.
That's interesting because I think it did create a panic for, look, it definitely did here with Bedard. I would imagine they're feeling similarly in Columbus with Fantilli. I'm sure the San Jose Sharks now are probably looking at, we're not going to Celebrini for less than 20. Right?
What's the maximum? 20%? That's what he's going to get.
Yes, right. Yeah. And I think it's just very, very, what that offer sheet does is it kind of screws everything up. So now I'm kind of curious, it still feels like Davidson and Don Waddell are kind of waiting to see if one of those two sides is going to, bite first and sign to see if the Carlsson thing is a one-off or if that is truly now set a new market price. Because Kyle Davidson, as you said, with the Ducks, he has to re-sign Connor Bedard.
There's no question.
There's no will this move on? No, you won't. You have to do it. But I wonder if there's part of him in his negotiations that say, look, we're going to pay you. You're going to get a lot of money. You're going to get probably what you wanted when the season ended, 15, 16. It would be reckless for us to give you $18 million because if you want to win, and from what we know about Connor Bedard, who has no life outside of hockey, truly. He is just 24/7 hockey. It's not Patrick Kane who's
well, except when he's playing spike ball.
God, don't even give that life. It's 100% hockey for him all the time. You would think that he wants to win. So that's why I'm really curious to see, okay, now is Carlsson the new marker, or are other GMs going to be like, that's great for him, congrats to him, but we're not doing that. Right. That's really fascinating to me.
Yeah, that's kind of my question with a lot of these guys. The GMs always have Crosby in their pocket because he's like a god to all the young players still. Hey, you know what he did, and he's got 3 rings. Well, you got to do that. I am looking forward to seeing if this does reset the market and if suddenly young players get the money for their primes rather than after it, which I've always thought makes the most sense. Oh yeah, pay a 30-year-old for 8 years. That's genius. Sure, this is a great system. But I am interested to see if this does reset the market in a way that no one saw coming, or if this is looked at as, no, it really was just a hand grenade trying to steal a guy that they couldn't have poached otherwise.
I'm glad he did it to a Western Conference team. That was very thoughtful of Daniel Briere. I do want to talk about Michkov because it's a guy who's very, very interesting, and it's a guy who a lot of Hawks fans wanted in that draft, and a guy that people have talked about trading for. What happened last year, and is it fixable in Philly for him?
I do think it's fixable. We showed a video today. He's working out in Russia wearing all Flyers stuff, and that really warmed my heart to see. All right, he doesn't hate us. That's great. But no, I do think it's fixable. I think a number of things happened. First, he comes in out of shape. He's 10 pounds overweight. He didn't have the summer he was supposed to have after a very strong rookie season. 2, Rick Tocchet. Yeah, his offense is a whole lot different than John Tortorella's. John Tortorella basically built the Flyers offense to cater to Matvei Michkov. We are going to block shots, and then the weak side winger is going to take off into the neutral zone, and we're hoping to get breakaways and 2-on-1s. That is not Rick Tockett's philosophy whatsoever. There's a lot more dump and chase. There's a lot more looking towards establishing the forecheck. And that was just a lot. That was very foreign to Matvei Michkov, and it just didn't go well. And I think as his confidence waned, so too did his play. And you see the drop in production. I think it was just a number of things worked against him. He's got to do his part in terms of just getting in better shape and being ready to play this more physical, more grinding style of hockey under Rick Tocchet. And then once he does that, the head coach does have to realize, hey, I've got a guy with star potential on my hands. We have to have some sort of meeting in the middle, unless I want an Elias Pettersson situation again, where, oh, look, a guy who had 100 points is now like a 3C, basically. He blocks a ton of shots. Cool. His production is a third of what it used to be. There has to be some sort of meeting in the middle for this to all work out.
When you're looking at the outlook for this season upcoming here, you got a lot of young players that have kind of mixed in with a pretty good veteran group. You make a trade that impacts your goaltending situation. You extend Dan Valdar. Like, how are things looking for the Flyers going into next season after the rise that they had last year?
Yeah, I think they are looking at being a bubble playoff team again, as you guys were talking about. Individual players, their development isn't linear. And we kind of fell into that trap with Michkov last year. 63, 65 points, whatever he had. Maybe he has 80, maybe he has 100, and he has 51, and, you don't quite get that. Maybe Martone isn't a point-a-game player right away. Maybe Alex Bump isn't going to score 25 goals right away. But looking at the young players potentially taking steps forward after they looked pretty good in the second half of the season last year, and addressing what I thought was their biggest short-term need, the other goaltender spot, Sam Ersson was absolutely dreadful. I thought the best way this offseason Briere could just add more wins to the record was getting a goalie whose numbers aren't the worst in the league over the last 3 years, that as Ersson's were. That's going to be a few more wins. I think they're looking at being a bubble playoff team again, with the caveat, hey, if Porter Martone's just a superstar, they could be a 100-ish point team. I don't think they're challenging for the division because Carolina's Carolina, but they could be in that 2-3 spot again, and maybe a little more solidly than they were last year when it was, game 81 where it gets decided. But I'm looking bubble playoffs is the most likely outcome.
The two big RFAs for Philly are Trevor Zegras and Jamie Drysdale. You see any sort of hang up in getting those deals done?
I don't think so, because I think both really want to be here. Now, Charlie did point out one of the major reasons the Flyers have these guys is because they had negotiations in Anaheim that went sour. Both missed most of training camp and eventually were traded to the Flyers because of disagreements with management. I think the team knows that that's a possibility, and the players have found a place where they are more appreciated and honestly just more needed than they were. I think they have fit into the culture well. They're big parts of the locker room. I am interested in, one, the Drysdale contract, the number just going up because a lot of non-elite defensemen are getting paid. We talked about Bo Byram on our show today, but these guys who aren't necessarily like first pair guys, at least don't have the track record of it, are suddenly getting numbers that we used to associate with first pair defensemen as the cap rises. And Zegras, I do wonder if he's looking at a negotiation point of, I don't know, you just offered a guy who basically had the same point production as me, $18 million. So maybe 8.5, 9 isn't what I'm worth. I'm the closest thing you have to a number one center right now. What if it is 10 or 11 or 12? Maybe that's a hang-up.
Well, you got almost $30 million in cap space. There's no way that they screw it up, right?
You gotta believe they can at this point. But it's the Flyers, so anything's possible.
All right, Bill, great stuff, man. We appreciate you very much. I'm sure we'll catch up soon. If not before the season, best of luck to the Flyers, who screwed the Ducks and now have a little spot in my heart. That was right next to Michael Leighton. It's right next to Michael Leighton's 5-hole. That spot in my heart. Thanks, Bill.
Man, there's a hole in your heart.
Sandwich.
Oh yeah, wait. You want to ask me about the sandwich to Schmitter when we talked earlier?
Yeah,
Excuse you?
Schmitter.
Yeah, the Schmitter sandwich is being reintroduced to the Phillies ballpark, and I just wanted to get your take on it because I know you and Rick Camp do a great job on the I'm Fat Pod. I used to get 2 of these every Sunday for years. They discontinued it at the ballpark, and now it is returning for the All-Star game. They're talking about making it a permanent menu item again, and I just wanted to get an expert's opinion on it.
All right, let me see, Steven, the diagrammed graphic so I can see all the ingredients. All right, so it's a Kaiser bun, cheese, special sauce, which is always Thousand Island dressing.
Of course it is.
Yes.
Grilled
salami, tomatoes, I guess.
More cheese.
I
Fried
always get no
onions,
tomatoes.
steak,
More cheese.
and Kaiser roll. I'm in on this. I have 2 questions. I don't love Thousand Island. How big of a difference maker is that? And is this death diarrhea tomato or a good tomato?
It is always good Jersey tomato. I am not a fan of tomatoes, though. I usually get none, or if the line's long, just pull it off myself. The Thousand Island, it's not a huge helping of it. It's not dripping in Thousand Island, but I do like a little bit of sandwich lube. I need some wetness in there, so I do enjoy the Thousand Island.
I'm in on that. That sounds really, really good.
I'm interested in the flavor combination of the salami and the steak. I'd imagine that gets washed out a little bit.
It's probably a little bit salty.
Yeah.
It's probably not great for you. I would bet your doctor would be like, don't have 2 of those every Sunday, but it is what it is.
I'm in on that.
Sounds really good.
I'm in on that. That sounds great. And I got to get a proper Philly cheesesteak too. I don't know if I've ever had one.
Well, you got to go to Philly.
I know. We should go. We just got to visit. The schedule's coming out this week.
If the Hawks open on the road as they normally do in Philly, get on the phone.
Let's go. Let's make that happen.
Be a good trip.
All right. Well, let's hope it happens, man. Thanks for doing this. We appreciate it.
Simulcast action. That would be a lot of fun.
Hell
Take it
yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
All right. Have a great Spirit Week.
You as well.
All right. That's
Bill.
Bill Matz, the All-City Host of the Year. And now you know why. He's great. I love having Bill on.
Yeah.
Love having Bill on. All right. Should we get a couple more mailbags in before we wrap things up?
Let's do it.
We got a couple more, right?
Yes, we do.
Dying Breed Collectors, our buddy, says, with Larkin now adding Dallas to his list of acceptable destinations, can you see a scenario where there's a domino effect that leads Robertson to being traded? In theory, Dallas can get Larkin and 1 or 2 other players for the same cap hit as Robertson. Maybe that appeals to them. Maybe a 3-team trade that the Hawks can get in on. Hawks get Robertson, Dallas gets Larkin, and Detroit gets some combo of assets from both teams. I don't necessarily think it's the most realistic scenario, but this is what summertime mailbags are for. That is true.
Is. July 25th, I think, is the date for the Jason Robertson arbitration. So got some time still before that happens. As we've been tracking this for months upon months, it still seems like he wants $1.5 million more than the Stars want to give. I think it just eventually ends with Robertson signing the arbitration deal. If it comes down to, okay, you want to give him 12.5 and he wants 14, so now he's going to get 13.25 if that works. I don't know the math on that.
That's how it feels.
But something like that for like a year. We just saw Braden Schneider got a 1-year deal with the Rangers. Like, these RFAs might come out with like 1-year deals. The risk of that is that now he's walked to free agency as a UFA next summer. But maybe Dallas just feels like, okay, well, that's next summer's problem. Like, we figured out this summer's problem. I feel like that'll be what happens.
Well,
but I do like the idea of, look, like if you feel like you don't want to use that money for one player and you use it for 2 or 3 and you make some sort of deal with Detroit, you stay competitive, and yeah, I think you can keep building your team a little bit in the aggregate of what Jason Robertson would have cost and would have brought in.
Well, they lose Dallas next summer a $9.85 million salary in Tyler Seguin.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're counting on him to play. I cannot believe they have not found someone to take on that contract for an asset.
I think he's saying he's playing, and I think that they're probably just going to expect him to play.
And he has a no movement clause, so maybe he's like, I'm not accepting a trade, so figure it out.
Jamie Benn came back.
Yeah. And he's got another 1-year deal.
Yeah.
He's only making $850, but theoretically, they want to give him
the send off.
12.5. They lose basically $10.5 million next year in salary. You can get him up to that number he wants.
And salary goes up and all that stuff.
But the problem for that will be next year, that number for Robertson will not be 14 anymore.
Yeah, unless he has a down year, and then you can say, "Oh, well, ooh."
Yeah, but
you don't. You don't want that.
But
if
he hits UFA, he's going to be Carlsson money plus.
Yeah,
like guys like that just don't hit UFA, and if he does, which he won't, they just don't. It'll be because that certainly will be a last minute. Dallas can't get him signed, so trade the rights and get something back for him. And that team will sign him, and that's just what happens these days, which is smart business for teams with UFAs. It just sucks for free agency. But I don't think he's going anywhere. But I would imagine, though, if I'm Detroit and I'm trading Dylan Larkin for Jason Robertson, I'm just keeping Jason Robertson because Detroit has shown no, signs of them rebuilding or wanting to, we need to gather draft picks and reload.
No.
They're just not. Steve Yzerman just seems to think oh no, everything's fine. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing. And
I mean, Larkin's got 5 years left on his contract. You signed the contract,
right?
Like that, from a Red Wings standpoint. They could just say we're not trading you. You signed to be here. We expect you to be at camp,
right? But even with Dylan Larkin, it's not like Detroit has done anything to really give themselves a better chance to compete next year. Did they Keegan Colasar? Was that their big?
Well, they didn't really have a lot of cap room to work with, and I think you have guys like Larkin and DeBrincat, and you have some veterans there, Comfer, and I think Andrew Kopp is still signed.
Yeah, one more year.
And then you got younger. I know they're getting older, but your younger core of Seider and Raymond and Edvinson kind of on the rise. I feel like they're trying to hold on to some of these guys that they signed as the veterans so that the young core can then come up. But again, you just don't have enough to get you over that hump. And that's been the same case for the last few seasons in Detroit. So you could, just kick the can down the road and hope that Larkin is okay, I'm not going to get traded. I'll show up and I'll play and whatever. And you keep the most of those guys together, and then you have some young players step in and step up. You could go that route. I just don't know if it's enough for Detroit. And you got rid of your young goaltender in Sebastian Kosha, so your future is still John Gibson and Husso,
Tarasov.
Right?
They have as a backup right now.
Yeah. So it's just
and Trey Augustine.
Yeah, but I mean he's not even pro yet,
right?
So it's. I don't know. I don't know what they're at a spot where they are. It seems like they're at a crossroads. The Larkin trade could make them go down rebuild path, but if they make a Larkin trade where they add a Robertson, that keeps you afloat for a little bit.
Sure.
Except your number one center is JT Compher.
But it keeps you afloat to where they've been.
Where they've been
out of the playoffs and not drafting high and not playing for in the playoffs, which is. Hockey hell. It's the last place you want to be.
Yeah.
So, all right. Let's get one more in here before we get to overtime. Scott 1977 says, I like the idea of Elias Pettersson plus Louis. I'm old. Jake DeBrusk from Vancouver. It fills for now and the future. If Vancouver is willing to retain, say, $2 million, I think the Hawks could put a package together to make it happen. What that package is, I don't know. So Pettersson and DeBrusk from Vancouver.
I mean, you're probably talking about your young futures that are on the NHL roster.
Yeah.
So
Pettersson, by the way, is making $11.6 million through 2031-32.
It's a lot of money. Yeah, I mean, you're probably talking about moving Moore, Nazar,
And
Lardis, maybe like
Some firsts.
Vancouver's gonna want to get young players that can play in the NHL. Like they're rebuilding, and if they're giving up two of their better assets, they want to recoup value.
We're going to go to overtime here real quick, by the way. So if you're watching on the Fast channel, switch over to allchgo.com to continue watching the show. Sorry.
Even though, Elias Pettersson has not been the guy that he was a few seasons ago, 100 plus points and all that stuff, like that player is still in there somewhere, you think. So you don't want to just say, even though his value is at the lowest it's ever been, probably on the trade market, that you just are just giving up on him because Vancouver,
you're not going
to benefit from that. So you're probably giving up, young guys that you value if you're Chicago. And I don't know. It's that one's. I'd have to sit and think analytically on that one.
It's a really big financial risk. Even if they're eating $2 million, you're down to $9.6 million for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it was
that guy,
another year or two, you're like, all right.
He would have to become the player that he used to be.
Yes,
at that dollar amount.
Not just dollar amount, but what it would take to acquire him. I'm not a no on. I know Greg is really bullish on trying to get him, and I do think. I feel like Jeff Blashill does, and we have a very small sample size, but I feel like he does a pretty good job of like coaching guys that are talents. He doesn't try to square peg round hole guys like Jeremy Colliton did.
Sure.
I know that the Andre Burakovsky asterisk sits over everything with him. But I think he had his reasons. I think he held on to those reasons a little too long. But otherwise, aside from that, which is big, I don't have a lot of criticisms for Jeff Blashill. I think the stuff he did made sense. I think for the most part, players were put in positions to succeed. And I'm answering Kempin 18's super chat right here. $2 says, what do we think of Blash's first season? Here we go. So I would think, just as Bill said about Rick Tocchet really not using Michkov correctly when Tortorella did, which is interesting.
Sure.
I wonder if Jeff Blashill could get the most out of, or not the most, but get Elias Pettersson back to at least a semblance of what he was
maybe
in those 100-point seasons.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's pretty clear that Pettersson is a case for new scenery.
Oh yeah.
But I just don't know. A lot of people are like, he's a broken player and a bad attitude. It's just like, I mean, I think there's a lot that goes into when a player gets to a point where, they're not the player that they were. They're overpaid. You're in a pretty intense hockey market in Vancouver. Like, a lot of those factors can compound on themselves, and some things can be true and some things can be exaggerated. I really don't know. But I feel like if you had a player like that just needs a mental reset of like, I need to get out of Vancouver. I need to talk to new people. I need to have new coaches. I need to have, I want to live in a new city, new teammate, like things like that. Like that could really be beneficial, as well as, like you're saying, like a guy like Jeff Blashill could be able to figure out like, okay, what's going to make him again, and maybe it's not necessarily like with Bedard here and, to some extent having Frondell, you don't necessarily have to say like, okay, Elias, you're going to step in and be the number one center and you got to live up to your almost $12 million like, you don't need to put that on his shoulders. You could have him be a number two center, or you could have some flexibility with that, and maybe that works out where the weight on his shoulders, the responsibilities are a little bit less. He kind of gets back to it, and then you say, okay, give you a little bit more. And I don't know. There's nuance to how to get a player back to being themselves, quote unquote.
If I'm giving up the package that you're talking about, which is 2 or 3 prospects you really like, plus probably
young NHL guys,
top 2 round draft capital.
Yeah,
I don't want to worry about what it's going to look like. I don't want to be like, and then maybe, just maybe, he's good. No, then bring me Matthew Nyes or Jason Robertson or player in that category that I can count. Because even if, like, maybe he gets back to the 100-point status, maybe he doesn't and he's a 50-point guy. Give me a guy who's going to give different parts of the game than Pettersson is, right?
Sure.
Bring in a winger who can play with Bedard. Like, and I'm not saying you give up the same price, but the question included Jake DeBrusk. Jake DeBrusk is pretty interesting at $5.5 million for the next 5 years. He had 23 goals, 19 assists last year, plays both wings.
That's a good player to put right in the middle of your lineup.
That's perfectly fine. And again, a guy who in a pinch can play on the top line or be a top 3 forward if you squint real hard. Because remember, not every top line is all-star, all-star, all-star. That's just not the reality. But if you've got a guy who can hang talent-wise with Bedard and Kantarov or Bedard and Frondell or whatever it shakes out to be, and I think DeBrusk can, then I think that's probably something worth considering. And if Vancouver is truly rebuilding, which I think kind of remains to be seen, their moves this offseason were not like totally like burn it down rebuildy.
Yeah.
You know, I think you could probably get them for some draft capital, which you have plenty of. Not to say, like, if it's a first-round pick for Pettersson or DeBrusk, I think, sure, Pettersson, if I'm flipping a coin, I'd probably try him because of the success he had prior. But considering everything you got to give up, like, no. I'm not. I'm hands-off with Pettersson. Unless it's like a steal of a deal, a couple draft picks, and maybe one prospect, maybe. But to give up a big package to bring back a question mark, that's not like why you acquire and build this prospect pool and you get these guys in the NHL and you like what you've seen and you project them into your future in case, unless there's something really, really big you can use them for. Pettersson to me is not it. Yeah. Now, if he has another 100-point season this year, then the conversation changes, but it's way too big of a risk for me to give up a package like that. Do we have any more Super Chats? Did we get to all of them?
Got the Super Chats.
Do we have any final thoughts on Jeff Blashill's first year?
I think he did fine. I think, yes, the Burakovsky thing made me want to put my head through a wall. But I think the overarching theme of his first year that he laid out stepping into the job day one was like he's coming in to be a teacher role for these guys, and I think he did that for the first year. Yeah, and I think that was important for the young players, and not only them, but also like a couple of Tyler Bertuzzi obviously really likes playing under Jeff Blashill. Because he was able to find a different level of his game than he saw that we saw the year prior, and do it consistently, which was really good. So I think going into year one was a good laying the groundwork of the expectations for the young players mostly, and that's very important going into year two, where you hope you hit the ground running with those guys, because we saw him step in at training camp. It was just like, this isn't an ease into camp environment. This is no wasted time. We're hitting the ground running. Now you can know that that's the expectation for the guys that are the NHL guys and the bubble NHL guys. They can get into that right away. Yeah, year two with the whole new coaching staff, or year two under the new staff, I think there'll be less surprises. Like, I think it's just going to flow a little bit better for them in year two. So I think he did good in year one. All things considered. I think
it's also discovery season two for Blashill. Like, all right, what do we got? Who's what? Like, who can play where? Who brings what abilities? How will they look in the NHL versus their film from Rockford or college or whatever it might have been? And I think I'm excited to see what year two brings from him. Steven, who is the injured Bear that Ben Johnson was like, I can't tell you about him because I never see him play. He's always hurt. It was like a secondary guy.
That was Kyler Gordon.
Kyler Gordon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So like he can't, like, Ben Johnson, who everyone loves and rightfully so, like, can't evaluate a player until he sees him on the field, right? Like, he can watch all the film he wants on Kyler Gordon before he gets here and have ideas of what he might be. But every time he was asked about, like, well, Kyler Gordon might be back, what does he bring to the team? I don't know. I don't know what to tell you because I've never seen him live.
Not a personal connection right? to the evaluation.
So now you've got, instead of him coming into the job last summer, trying to play catch up on all the prospects and players and trying to figure out lines from there. Now he's got a year under his belt of, all right, I know these guys personally. I know what makes them tick. I know what works coaching wise and what doesn't. Now I can more mold this thing into my true vision for the team, and we'll see what it looks like this year. Look, it's, again, small sample size. Injuries certainly played a role last year. A super, super young team for the most part, but I very easily will give him a B+ for his first year as Hawks coach because, again, an 11-point increase from last year. And
point increase.
especially without Bedard or Nazar for a month.
Yeah.
I think
he did
pretty good.
He did what was asked, and now next year it's got to be a little bit better.
All right, we're going to wrap things up. We will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow on Spirit Week is Hot Take Tuesday. So me and Greg and Mario are all going to share our big hot takes. Some will be hockey-based, some will not. We'll have a regular show, too. So, of course, if any news happens and all that stuff, we'll be on top of it. But Wednesday, Die Hard Day. Thursday, Big Brothers, Big Sisters Day. And then Friday is game day. It's going to be a fun week. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 3 on CHGO Blackhawks.
We all silly like the mayor.